All right, so welcome and thank you all for being here for Google Club. Again, as I said, I recognize some names and some names are new, and that's always a wonderful mix. Um, the idea of Google Club is an opportunity once a month to meet and discuss or share tips around Google stuff. I feel like we're still often learning a lot, so I'm going to take us through some step-by-step stuff today. But if you have experience or you have questions from something that you're trying out, there's plenty of time to bring that up too. Um, so as program folks coming from DYCD programs or programs that are funded by DYCD, you have access to DYCD Connect announcements and message board to find out about other workshops that are happening. I didn't introduce myself. So my name is Nell Eckersley, and I do work at the Literacy Assistance Center. And I have been working probably actually, this is my 20th year at the Literacy Assistance Center, but I've done many different things. But the thing I've done the most is work with teachers on using technology and integrating technology and digital skills into instruction. So it is a true pleasure to be here doing that today. Um, in these slides, you'll see that I've listed the future Google Club meetings that you can register from this slide if you want to. And we also have added a couple of in-person workshops. So if you go to this other slide, this document, I'll make sure there's a copy of this in our folder. We've had two in-person sessions, but if you scroll through here, between the Google Clubs, we have this is our next in-person one. So the basics of Google Sheets and Forms, and it tells you it's in person here. Because we had the request to, sometimes I know it's hard to actually do work or follow along with what I'm talking about or what other people are sharing while you're looking at a Zoom screen. And sometimes it's tricky to move between a Zoom screen and other screens. So we have created a couple of in-person workshops, and those are here as well as Google Club. So you can check that out. And they're kind of related. So we're having the in-person workshop usually a week before Google Club as a perfect place to come if you have no experience with whatever the tools are, because we will start from scratch there. And then hopefully when we get to Google Club, we'll get a little deeper into not just the basics, but a slightly more advanced version of how to use these tools. Let me go ahead and give you this link. So if I was to share my slides with you, you've obviously seen slides quite a lot because I think if you've gone to any workshop at the LEC, you're probably seeing Google Slides. How do I share my slides with you? What are some ways? There's more than one way, but what's one way that you know to, and I'll look at the chat as well in case you want to write it in there, but you're very welcome to unmute and tell me. Okay, so Mitzi says, top right where it says share. Yes, Google is very happy to help you share things. So generally on most Google tools, when we're looking at a file, up in the right, there'll be a big share button. And that share button might disappear. If I make my screen a little smaller, it might turn into a little person. Yeah, so now you see. So sometimes it looks like that, like a little person with a plus sign. If I make my screen bigger again, it gets back into that big share button. So when I go to the share button, I have two ways to share. I can share, so I can see here it says people with access, and then underneath I can see general access. When I'm working with a colleague or a group of people and we're all going to have maybe different levels of access, then being able to enter their email addresses up here and give people explicit access with different levels, then I use this. But I only use this if I know which email they want me to invite them to. I don't know if you've experienced the thing where people have invited you to a Google document, and when you try, it says you have to ask for access. That's usually because they have put in a different email address up here, and you have to go to that account. So when I do this, I'm very careful that I know what people's Google account is that they want me to invite them through. Most of the time, I'm grabbing the link from down here. And that's because most of the time I'm working with a large group of people like you guys today. And I just want a link that I can give you all, and you're all going to have the same level of access. And that's the simplest way to do it, because I'm not going to email it to you right now or text it to you, or invite you separately, right? So to do this, notice also you get to choose what level of access people have. So we have a viewer level access, which means you can look at it, but you can't do anything to it. You can be a commenter, which means you could add comments. And if a student was sharing something with me, I would ask them maybe to give me comment access so I could give them feedback via comments. And then editor means you're just like me and you can make any changes you want. So usually when I'm sharing something that you're all going to look at together, I'm going to make you a viewer. So I copy this link and I'm going to click done. And I'm going to put this in our chat. Actually, I'm going to do one more thing first. So if I go, let me get rid of that. If I go from where we are right now, I'm going to make a new slide and I'm going to paste that link here. So Control V. So this is what the link looks like. Can you tell by looking at this link what level of access I'm giving you? Who says yes and who says no? I see some chat answers. Yes, Mitzi says yes. Joan says no. Excellent. We have at least 2 different ideas there. Mitzi, do you want to tell us a little bit why you think, what can you tell? What are you seeing that makes you think you can tell what, oh, Chris says yes, because it has the word edit in it, right? We see this. But guess what? That doesn't tell you anything at all. So here's a trick. What you saw me just now, right? I gave you the share. I came here, I made sure you had viewer only access, right? So I'm going to copy that link again, click done. I'm going to paste it below this one. Okay, it's identical, right? Now, if I go back to share and I say, actually, I'm going to give you edit access. And now I'm going to copy that link. I'm going to come in here and go down and I'm going to paste it. Let me make those a little less. Okay. Are these the same? Yes, they are. So the link stays the same. This is very confusing and can make you feel very worried. You might feel unclear what level access you're giving people. So the time to be really clear is when you're going into the share and making the link, because the link will look the same. It will look exactly the same. In fact, if I come back in here now and I click viewer again, and I was to copy that link again, it's going to be the same again. Okay? So that's partly why I didn't give it to you yet. So now I'm going to give it to you, and I know that it's view only. So in the chat, this is the link to our slides. So one of the themes this year in Google Club is the idea of digital resilience. And digital resilience is the idea that you can learn very explicit skills today, and you could work with your learners and they could learn exactly how to put in this formula in Excel. But they're going to leave your program and they're going to have to use a new software perhaps for their work, or they're going to come back to Excel and it has changed, or they're maybe looking at it on a different kind of device. Maybe they have a Mac and on a PC it might look different. So digital resilience is really working on all the skills we need to be adaptable, to push through times when we feel frustrated and we might want to remember all the times we failed. And you might be someone who considers yourself a techie. You might be someone who says, I'm not a techie. It doesn't matter, right? This is all about having a growth mindset, trying new things, not being afraid that I've told this joke before, but when I cook with my husband, he is famous for saying something like, what if we added olives to the cake batter? Like something really bad, like a stupid, really bad idea. But with computers, I'm going to say that it's never a bad idea to say, what would happen if? What would happen if I highlighted this? What would happen if I clicked print screen? It's going to be very difficult for you to make everything blow up and disappear. I know that's one of the fears, at least, right? That everything will disappear, or that you'll never be able to get back to where you want to get to, or where you were. So we want to help you have that, feel secure and safe in finding a home, like a safe place. So that's why I want you to feel really comfortable in sharing. Knowing where your files are in your Google Drive, we talked about that in an earlier session, and we can talk more about Google Drive if that's something people are interested in. But so knowing where your files are and being able to get back to them whenever you want to is really important. And knowing that when you share something, how you shared it and what the other people who you shared it with are experiencing, I think that helps to build a foundation of safety, and then it's easier to be resilient. So that's why I take a little time out to do this, because this is true for all Google tools, right? If I'm making a Google Doc and I want to share that with my learners, you want to be secure in the fact that you've shared it and given them the level access that you wanted them to have, and know that you can change it again. So maybe it's a lesson where they have 2 days to add content to a shared document. And then on that third day, you come in and you change their access level. They can look at it, but they can't add anything more. And they should feel comfortable doing that too. So be comfortable in your sharing. Um, and know that it is very enticing to see the word edit here and sharing and think that those mean something. And in this case, they don't. The link will always have those in there, and it doesn't mean the things it means to us in English. Okay, so that was a little sidestep. Basically, today we're going to look at Google Slides and Google Sites. We will talk a little bit about Google Photos because it's a helpful tool when you're making sites and slides. Just talked a little bit about digital resilience. We're going to start with slides, do a little bit about photos, and then get into sites. So here's a more formal definition of digital resilience. So having the awareness, skills, agility, and confidence to be empowered users of new technologies and adapt to changing digital skill demands. One of my, this year, one of the things I'm trying to focus on is helping us all, teachers, to have a feeling of digital resilience and developing our digital resilience, and working with those of you who are new to tech or trying out Google for the first time or just feel a little nervous and worried. And we're going to get us all up to a certain level where we're willing to be more open to exploration and try new things out. So I bring this up because sometimes when we teach digital literacy, if you are teaching in your classes, perhaps you're combining digital skills with whatever content you originally were supposed to be teaching, or maybe you're lucky enough to be teaching a digital skills class that's a standalone. We have a tendency when we're teaching digital skills to be tour guides, right? We're like, okay, over here is the share button. I didn't tell you where the share button was. Someone had to tell me, right? I think that helps us spend a little bit more time in our brains working on that. So being less of a tour guide and more of a question asker, looking for similarities, right? So if we look here, if you were to look at, for example, this file tab, all of the things here, if you were to open up a Google document like this one, and you go to this file, very similar. So if you feel comfortable with Google Docs, you already know a lot about Google Slides. There's just a few places it's a little different. So noticing that and sharing that with your learners too, you could even put, screenshots of both of those menus together. You see that you actually know a lot already, and it's just little places that you need to learn more stuff. So spending some time like that, helping people find similarities, all the things we do when we're learning anything, right? That because I know this, I already know this, or there are other things. A lot of math has a series of habits of mind, and one of them is noticing patterns. So what is similar? What is different? And that, I think, can be very helpful when you're working in technology or in digital literacy. So that's a little bit of a soapbox moment, but that's kind of what is the base of all of this. And how do we develop digital resilience? It's kind of through struggle a little bit, but it is remembering the successes rather than remembering the negatives. And again, I'm not going to go more into that because we really want to jump into slides, but just be aware that digital resilience is a really important part of what we need in ourselves and what we want to build with our learners. And we do that by not always being the tour guide. And it's important because everyone's going to leave your program and go out and be in the world, and they are going to experience differences. And you as a teacher are going to come in, today my internet stopped working. And I'm like, I have this workshop to do this afternoon. Luckily, I have a little hotspot, so I'm okay. But I had to kind of troubleshoot that, right? So it's important to demonstrate that we all hit those problems, and what were some ways that we came up with to help move through them. Okay, so we're going to get into Google Slides. So one thing I want to point out right away is that the icon for Google Slides is this yellow box. If you see that little white image there, I think it's supposed to look like a slide. If you're familiar with like the old-timey slides that we would see in a carousel, my parents took a lot of baby pictures using slides, so we have a lot of slides at my house. So that's where that image comes from, right? It's supposed to remind us that these are slides. So the importance of these icons is that when I look up at the tabs across the top, so I'm in Chrome right now, the Chrome browser, and when I open a new tab, there's usually a little icon on the corner of that tab. And as I open more and more tabs, there's less and less space to read the writing, and the writing's pretty small. So if you can notice the icons, I don't have to click on every one of these tabs to find my slides. I can recognize that the second tab are my slides, right? There's only one tab with that icon on it. If I had multiple, then I might have to check on each one of those, but at least it's a limited number compared to all of my tabs. And this little symbol up here is called a favicon. And we're going to look, when we make our websites, we're going to look at that, because you can create your own favicon and make that symbol something that is, again, easy for people to recognize, so that when you're just glancing through your tabs, you can quickly tell which one you want to go to. So this is important to notice. Show it to your learners, make them help them know what that means too. So Google Slides is like PowerPoint. Someone brought that up. So we're making presentations, and the bonus of Google Slides is that we can very easily include graphic images, more easily than in a Word doc or in a Google Doc. This is built, and we also can just lay things out the way we want to, which is also nice and different than in a Google Doc. So my first question to you all is, how do I get to Google Slides? Anybody want to, you can put it in the chat, you can unmute. All right, Bitsy says Drive. I love it. So if I go to my Drive, this is my Drive. Oh, Joan, I love it. We'll come to your suggestion in a moment. I like that. So I'm in my Drive, and something I've noticed about Google is they love the plus sign. The plus sign usually means create or make a new one, right? So do we see a plus sign anywhere here? Fantastic. Mitzi says new, right? So we have plus and we have the word new. So I'm going to check that out. Maybe that's where I can find my slides. So I'm going to click on that. And sure enough, look at all of that. That's how I can get to lots of my tools here. So if I want to make a new Google Doc, I could click on that. If I want to make Google Slides, and you see the little icon there again, right? Helping us out very easily. We can make new folders here. And then under more, there's even more things, including Google Sites. So now we know how we can get to Google Sites. So definitely one way to get to Google Slides is to go through your Drive if it's already open. I saw two other suggestions. So one is Joan's suggestion that we can just type in slides.google.com. All right, let's try it out. I'm going to make a new tab. Up here in the Omnibox, I'm going to type in slides.google.com. And I'm going to hit enter. Sure enough, not only can I create new slides because I have this plus sign here, but I can see all the slides I've ever made. So if you're searching for a set of slides and you can't remember the name and it's hard to find them in your Drive, this could be helpful. You could look at this would only show you your slides. So that's definitely another way. And then Katrina mentioned the waffle, which I love. So the waffle is up here. These little 9 little squares in the shape of a waffle. If you click on that, it's called your app launcher, and it will show you all of the apps, all of the types of files. Were you going to ask a question, Milado?
No.
Okay, go unmuted. I didn't know if you unmuted for a reason. It's all good. So this is yours to organize the way you like. I, for example, do not use Google Meet very often, so I'm going to move Google Meet further down. And I do use YouTube quite a lot, so maybe I'm going to move that up here. So just know you get to organize it the way you want to. There are a bunch of things down here that I don't even know what they are, right? Or I don't need Google Wallet up in my launcher to see it very easily. Notebook LM, I might move that up there. That's a fun AI tool that you might want to try out. Anyway, so you get to play with that. This is looking at Chrome. I will say I don't always see the waffle. So if I see the waffle, that's fantastic. I don't know why I do see it sometimes and why I don't see it other times. But we've now listed 3 different ways that we could make slides, right? We can, if our drive is already open, we can go to new. If we want to just type in slides.google.com, and then we also have the launcher. Um, what we're looking for is efficiency. There's no wrong way to do things, but what I've noticed with some folks is that you're used to maybe logging into your Google account through Gmail. And so that's your first step. And then you get to Drive, and then you open up Slides. And that's 3 steps. We don't need to do 3 steps. So as long as you're logged into Google and logged into Chrome, you don't have to open Drive. You can just type Google slides.google.com, or you can look for the app launcher and get there that way. So try finding as many different ways as you can to get to slides. So we're at slides right now, and if I wanted to make new slides, we talked about in Drive, I could do that under the new. We see here this plus sign, and we actually see that they give you some templates here. If I click on the template gallery, they're going to show me lots of templates. So that might be a fun way to start. If you see some template there that you like, you can click on it and start from that. I'm bored by all the templates and I like to make my own. So I tend to start off with a blank presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now, one thing to consider, the way that I decide if I want to create my slides from here is if I don't know yet what it's going to go into, what folder it's going to go into. If we look at my drive, I use Google a lot. And so I have a lot of folders. And I don't always just want to start slides. I want to go either make the folder first for the project. Maybe it's Tuesday class or this workshop, right? For this workshop, I made a folder. Um, it's a folder inside a folder, in fact. So it's inside my PDU folder. And then I have to go down here to Google Club. And then I can get to today's folder. And now if I create new and I click Google Slides, it will create them inside this folder. So as I said at the very beginning, one of the things we want to be building our strength in is knowing where our stuff is. If you're not using Google a lot, then your drive is probably pretty easy to navigate. But if you're using Google a lot, and I hope you'll see that you might be using it more and more, organizing it becomes very important. You can search and you can look for things, but if you can create a system so you know where things are, you'll notice in my drive that I've added the number 1 in front of some of my folders. And I've also changed the color, right? So these are ways that I've come up with to help me make things easier to find. Why would I put the number 1 at the beginning of the name of a folder?
Because it takes precedence over alphabetical things.
Exactly. Very well said, Marika. Yeah, so numbers take precedence over letters. So if I said 1, 2, I could number them all, but then the 2s would come below all the 1s. So I just use 1. I've seen someone use a period or a symbol, so I think you can do that too. But that way they stay at the top of my very long list. So as I come down here, for example, PDU, I need to go to this folder almost every day. And if I didn't put the number 1 in front of it, I'd have to scroll down to the letter P all the time to get to it, right? So by putting the number 1 in front of it, I get to keep it kind of in the top. I'm making it into my favorites. Google has built in a favoriting tool called starred. So if you were to star a folder, it will go into your starred folder automatically. So that's how they think about organizing your favorites. guess who's really bad at unstarring things? I am. So if I go back to my starred folder, it's way too full. It's very bad. I did a very bad job, and it's so bad I can't even go in there and clean it up. So the idea with the starred folder is that you would star things, and then when you're done with them, you would remove them from starred. And so you would keep your starred folder very clean and just the things that you're really looking at. And I just messed that up. So I don't deal with it. And I just came up with my own way, which is the numbering thing. Colors are also really rich. You can change the color of a folder, but not of a document, right? So we see these are all folders. The default color is this gray color. If I get into documents, I can't change the color of these. They're just going to have that little icon because that's the way that's organized. So only folders can you change colors. All right, so we are creating these slides. Because I opened a folder first and then I made the slides, I know that these slides are going to go in that folder. I can always move them later. And, so it's not totally, you don't exactly have to do this, but I find it easier to organize in advance if I can. So when you open up a deck of slides, just like PowerPoint, they suggest some templates down the side. And you can see these are kind of, there's some fun ones. I don't know. But again, first of all, I get bored because they're the same for a long time. They don't change, although there's a lot of pretty ones. And I know some of my colleagues use some external slide theme creators or template creators, but I don't want all that other stuff. I just really, you'll notice with my slides, I just have words and then some images, and that's all I want. But I like to play with fonts for sure. So the way that we can create our own template, I'm just going to X out of this to give me more space. And I'm going to go over here. So we have File, Edit, and View. Under View, I can make my own theme. And what that means is I don't want Arial to be the font, and I don't want to have to change it on every slide manually. I'm going to come here and set up my theme before I even get started. So the top slide here is where you want to make your changes. I'm going to change the font. I've added a lot of new fonts. So when you're looking at your fonts in Google, if you click more fonts, you can add, you'll find they have a long list of fonts you can add. So my fonts here are pretty fancy. I'm going to go with, these are the ones I've been using most recently. Let's go down here to Alpha Slab 1. Okay, I'm good with that. I'm going to move it up a little bit, and I'm going to change the color to blue. Now, this is sometimes called a toolbar, but we call it a ribbon. So I'm gonna call it a ribbon today, but a toolbar, ribbon, both work. So this toolbar or this ribbon has very specific elements that I can use that Google thinks that you really want to, are the most commonly used. All of these items also reside underneath these tabs. So you can find them there too, but these are sort of shortcuts. That's why they're kind of exposed on this ribbon or toolbar. So okay, I've changed that. I also want to change down here. I don't know why they, as a default, have gray. I don't like that. So I'm going to go up here again to text color, and I'm going to change this to a darker blue. And I'm going to change the font to Oswald, which is my favorite. And I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Now, there's no real 100% rule of how big writing has to be, but if you're projecting it, you probably want to at least around 20, depending on the font. And then as we get into, bullet points below that, I usually go one more step down, and we'll make this blue, and we're going to make this 18, and we're going to make this Oswald as well. And I'm going to pull that up a little bit. And if I wanted to put my logo, I could do that here. Or if there's like a little symbol to do with your class or something like that, you could do that here. And now when I go back to my slides, that's in there. And as I add, and here we have a plus sign, that's how I make a new slide. So the first slide is a title slide, and then the rest of the slides are going to look like this. When we were looking at the View theme builder, you'll see there are actually a lot of other types of slides. By editing this top one, it's flowing through all of my slides. So that's why I edited that one. If you edited this one alone, only this one would be different. And the rest would have stayed within whatever the theme was up from this one up top. So just be aware of that. You always want to edit this theme one, and then the changes will flow through. Okay, so I have my slides. Right now, am I editing anything in my slides? Is anything actively being edited? Yes or no? Anybody say in the chat? Let's check out the chat. No one's telling me. So right now, nothing is being edited. But if I click into this box, now this is the active area. What do you notice about the active area? How can you tell where the action is? It's
Because
blue. Yes. Was that what you're going to say? That it's blue. So what I've noticed when folks are first learning how to use slides is that they sometimes get a little confused about what is actually active. And they think that they're editing this, but actually they're editing this. And then when they try to do it, it moves around or it does something crazy, and that's very frustrating. So the first thing we want to know is I can tell exactly what is active because there's a blue box around it. And that is going to be true when we look at Google Sites as well. So it's their common way of letting you know what's active. I think if you look at Google Forms, you'll notice also which question are you on? It's the one with the blue box around it. So I'm going to go in and give it a title. So this is example slides, and I'm going to say November 19, 2025. The default is to have this all centered. You'll see with a lot of my slides, I come in here and how can I make this smaller? Can I change the size of this box? Yes. Right? I can come over.
Maybe pull the side.
Nice, the corner points, right? So you'll see there are these corner points, and when I scroll over them, I get that two-way arrow, right? So two-way arrow tells you that you're going to change size. Four-way arrow, I get when I scroll over the lines. And that tells me I'm going to move it. This is one of the places where people often have trouble because you think you're going to make it smaller, and actually you're moving it, and now it disappears. Right? If I move this up here, oops, see, I'm all over the place already. If I get those four-way arrow, doesn't want to stay there. Okay. Now I can move it, right? So that lets me move it. So four-way arrow is moving, two-way arrow is changing size. And I love that you brought up the corner points because that is very important when we're looking at images. Whenever you're looking at an image and you want to make an image bigger or smaller, you always want to drag it from the corner diagonally because that will keep the aspect ratio. If you drag it from the edges, it will stretch it, which could be fun, but it's often a little ugly and people know that you made a mistake. So in a Word text box, it's actually fine. It won't stretch my text if I do it from left and right or sideways or up and down. So with text boxes, you can change the size by using any of these, the circles on the corners or these little lozenges, any of those. We can call them anchors. Any of them can work on a text box. Here we are. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make this a little smaller. I want to insert a picture. And I just said the magic word, insert. Does anyone see where we can, how would I insert a picture? And there are a couple ways to do that. Anybody want to suggest a way to insert?
Maybe look at the ribbon, maybe something in the ribbon.
I love it. Let's look at the ribbon. The ribbon's tiny, I know, so I apologize. But if we come up here, now, I also want to point out something. Right now, I'm editing a text box, right? I can tell that because I have that blue line around it, and this is what the ribbon looks like. Watch what happens to the ribbon when I click out of that text box. So I'm going to click over here. Did something happen to the ribbon? The ribbon changes.
Can you do that again?
Sure. So if I'm in the text box, the ribbon is super long. It has the font type in it, the size, the color. If I click outside of the text box, now I'm not editing text, and it gets rid of all of that stuff. Now I can change the color of the background, or I could change the theme, or I could go backwards or forwards, or I could add a comment. And this is where we can sometimes see, I don't know if it's going to put it in there for us. Yeah, it's not going to do that. So we can insert a text box, we can insert an image, we could put a line in there, but it won't actually let us do an easy way to insert an image. To insert an image, we have this tab up here. So we have a File tab, Edit tab, View tab, Insert tab. We looked at File tab. It has lots of fun things to look at. It's definitely one to review. This is where you can download it. You could email it. You could share it. You can make a copy. So File is really important. And then I'd say my next most favorite tab is Insert, because this is where we do all the magic as far as putting our content into our slides. So if I look at Insert, the very first thing is image. And I have a couple of choices here. I could generate an image using AI. I could upload it from my computer. If I already had an image that I wanted to use that I know is on my computer, I could click here and I'm going to go find that image. They have some stock images that you can choose from. You might have Google Photo. This is why I mentioned Google Photo earlier. If you have Google Photo, you can click and pull an image straight from your Google Photos. You could take a picture right now, and you could put in a URL to an image if you had one. For the fun of it, I'm going to do the generate an image up here. So when we tell it to generate an image, it's using Gemini, which is Google's AI tool, and it gives me this sidebar. With most things in slides, whenever you're going to take an action, it's going to open up a sidebar on the right side. And then when you're done using it, you can X out of it, right? By Xing out of it, we mean you click the X and it goes away and you're back to your full size space. So we want to go ahead and create one, and it asks us to describe it. So I'm going to say, now this is something that I find really funny because it's really, AI is not as amazing as we sometimes think it's going to be. So I want a picture of Google Slides and Google Sites holding hands. And we're going to say, it gives us the option of a square image, a wide image, a tall image. I'm okay with a square image, so I'm going to just leave it like that. You could change the style, right? You could tell it you want it to be looking like a photograph or a background or a vector art, which means you can drag it, a sketch, watercolor. Let's try watercolor. I don't know what's going to happen. Okay, we're clicking create. And this is sort of a goofy example, but I do think that images are very, very valuable for helping to illustrate ideas that are hard to, that might have a lot of words related to them and being able to, so there you go. So now I can click on each of these. Totally goofy, right? Certainly this AI doesn't know what Google Slides and Google Sites look like. Probably there's a copyright on those symbols, but I'm fine with it for the sake of the purpose of my slides. I can decide which one I like. Sometimes it's very goofy. At least you can see the word slides there. There's a weird G that is not Google at all. Here are just two friendly things holding hands. Let's do this one. All right, I'm going to go with this one. So I'm going to click insert. And now there it is in my slides. I'm going to click out of this because I'm done with it. And now I want to resize this, or I want to move it. So again, I would click on it. And now I can see that I'm technically editing it because it has the blue line around it. Did you notice what happened up here in the ribbon? Should I click in and out of that again? I'm going to click out. So right now, nothing is being edited. And if I click on the image, yeah, the ribbon changed, right? So when I'm editing an image, I get image-related tools. I can create a border around it. I could add a link to it. I could crop it. I could replace the image. I could format options. So format options, you may have seen slides where, for example, I'm going to add a drop shadow. A drop shadow creates a little bit of a three-dimensional element to the image. And I find that to be valuable because sometimes the image just kind of floats in white space. If I click on this again, I could also say I want a reflection. Let me move this up. So now you get this crazy reflection down here, which again can look super cool if you like it or not. When I'm not clicked into a picture, my format options are blank. I have to have selected, the word we use is select. So when you've selected something, it gets that blue line. So when the blue line is there, that means this is selected, and now I have these options. Again, this can be very confusing to people, right? They're like, where I had them a minute ago, I don't know where they went. When in question, make sure that the item that you want to act on is clicked and has got that blue line around it. As we mentioned, I'm going to get rid of the reflection, and I'm going to get rid of the format options because it's taking up space. As I mentioned earlier, I don't want to change the size of this by dragging from the side because this is what happens. Right now, this is the square image. If I drag it, that's what happens. How can I undo that? Does anyone know the key strokes for undoing something?
Control Z.
Control Z, my favorite thing. So I'm going to hold down Control on my keyboard, and I'm going to click on the Z, and it takes me one step back. Don't you feel safe now? You can go ahead and play and just do Control Z whenever you hit something you didn't like.
Can you press the undo button, like the arrow that goes?
You absolutely can. So if I pull this out here, it's just we don't always get those arrows. So right now we see them up here. And actually, if you look at the arrows, you see that the keystroke is listed there, right? Control Z and Control Y. So absolutely, you can use these. I just find that they're not always visible. So you just know, I would say Control Z and Control Y. It works on Microsoft stuff as well. Like it's just a really good one to know. I think probably most of us know about Control C for copy and Control V for paste on a PC, different than on a Mac. So if you're going to add two more to know, they would be Control Z, which is undo, and you can do it over and over again to undo, 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 undo. And Control Y is redo. So if I do Control Y, and again, the thing has to be selected. Well, I guess it doesn't have to be selected. From where I am right now, if I want to redo, I do Control Y, Y. Anyway, so now I can do Control Z. We're back to where we were before. You'll see that when this is selected, you get this little set of stuff down here. So you can even edit the image more. Say this wasn't an image I'd gotten from AI, maybe it's a photo of me and there's someone in the background I don't want there. I can remove the background. Very exciting. These are new things. I can generate a new image. I can crop the image. Maybe I don't want all the space around it, right? And I can format options. So those are all there, but they go away when it's not selected. So when in doubt, make sure the thing you want to work on is selected. That would be the key piece of information there. So I'm going to make this even. And you notice as I drag it around, Slides wants to help me make this all even. So that little red line popped up and lets you know if I move it right here, yeah, right here, that's exactly in the center, for example. Or it wants me to line it up with the text box, right? So those are aesthetic choices you get to make. All right, so those are images. You can add text in here. Let's see, what else do I have? I'm going to see what I put in my slides. And in general now with AI being built into everything, this little symbol up here is your Gemini symbol. So if you want to play around with that, you can, right? You can click on that and you can ask it to even write something. or begin to create your slides if you wanted it to, and then you could come in and edit. So you have that ability. I've not really done that. I have used the images because I find that sometimes I can demonstrate something that's harder to say in words, or at least it illustrates what the words are saying beside it, and I think that helps people remember things. But do know that you have Gemini right here. Let's see, what else do I want to say? So some of the ways that we've used slides, obviously I use them as my presentation modality, and I kind of think, I'm a very linear thinker, and I tend to think in slides. So it's actually very easy for me to organize my thoughts by saying this slide is about this, and then this is where I go. I've had colleagues who do not, that's not their natural way, and they need to write lots of notes down here. For me, the images are also good for me to remember the things I want to say in that moment. So that works for me. But we can use slides for many other things. It is really just a graphical, it's a tool that allows us to add graphics, add text, and move things around. And that is valuable in lots of ways. So you could make the default here is that it is set up to look like a slide presentation that will take up my computer screen or look beautiful on a projector screen. But if I was to take this one and I want to change the size or the orientation of my slides, I want to make a book instead of a slide presentation. A book we tend to think of as being more like portrait mode, more of a vertical layout. So again, as I said, check out all these tabs because there's lots of stuff there. And if we go to File and we scroll all the way down, we have Page Setup. And this is very similar. If you look at Google Docs, you'll see that Page Setup is also at the bottom of your File tab. So the default is widescreen. If I click on the little arrow, we have standard. If you remember, even sometimes my PowerPoints come out that way. They're slightly more square than less widescreen. But we can do custom. And under custom, we can turn this into 8.5 by 11, right? To make it something you could even print out on paper. So we're going to try, I think it's going to be 8.5 times 11. We'll apply it. Yes, so that turned it into something that is in portrait mode. And now this could be my book, right? I can print it out as a booklet. I can make it something that I can even do use with my learners. So let's make this the contents page. And we're going to add a few more slides. Let's add another slide. And in here, I'm just going to have a book of vegetables. So I'm going to put in carrot as my header here, and I'm going to get rid of this text box. So I highlighted it and I did the backspace to delete it. And I'm going to insert an image of a carrot. So let's go to images. Let's go to stock and web. And I'm just going to type in carrot. And I like these carrots. I'm fine with it. All right. So now I have my carrots. We'll make it plural. And let's do one more. So to make a new slide, we do the plus sign. I'm going to do apples. And over here, I'm going to type in apples. And I need to make sure I'm not up here. I need to get rid of this text box, be where I want to be, right? So there's a blank space here. So nothing is selected. If I selected something, right, and I clicked on apples, oh, it didn't do it. Sometimes it will replace whatever is selected. In this case, it didn't do that. So that's good to know. All right, so we have apples. Okay. So now we have 2 pages in our book. We're going to go back to our contents and we're going to say carrots. And we're going to say apples. And I'll make this bigger so it's a little easier to see. All right, so now here's a really fun trick. This is my table of contents, and I want people to be able to get to the apples page without having to look at the carrots page first. Does anyone know how to do that? Let's see if the chat is on fire. It's a little complicated, so you probably have to unmute if you want to tell me how you would do it. All right, I'm going to demonstrate it. So we talked earlier, I don't know if we've done that today, but to make a hyperlink, right? If I wanted apples to be a hyperlink that took me out to a website that was about apples, right? I would have found my website, types of apples. Okay, let's find, we'll go with Washington apples. Okay, so this is a website that I want to link to. So I grab this link up here, Control C for copy. I come back to my slides. I highlight the word that I want to link, use as my hyperlink. And then I'm going to either right click on that and look for this little symbol. There's also keystroke, Control K. Or up in the ribbon, I also have that little symbol. So you can choose how you want to do it, but you want to find the link icon. So I'm going to click on this one up here. And I could paste my link and click apply. And now this would be a link out to the apples. So if I was to put this in slideshow mode and I click on that, it takes me out to, right? So that is a hyperlink, which is very valuable and something that is often used in slides. But I don't want apples to take me out to this other website. I want to take apples to take me to page 4 of my book. So I'm going to click on this and I'm going to get rid of this link by clicking remove. I'm going to highlight it again and I'm going to do everything I just did. So I highlight the word, I go to that symbol that says links, but instead of pasting the link in here, I look down here and it says slides in this presentation. So I'm going to click on that. And now I'm going to see, does it show me? Yes, indeed. There is slide 4, apples. That's what I want it to go to. And I'm going to do the same thing with carrots, right? I'm going to highlight carrots. I'm going to go up to that link. I'm not pasting a link in here. I'm not choosing anything from here. I'm coming down to slides in this presentation and I'm clicking on carrots. Now, in order for this to be really useful, I also need to put a little button in here to take me back to the contents page, right? So I can put in a little text box and I can write return to contents page. And I can make that a different size and I can make it a different color. So to fill this in with color, I have to look for this little paint can up here. I can make it bright red. I can make the writing white. And now I have a little button that is, it's not a button yet, right? Now it's a text box. So how would I make this into a button that would take me back to the contents page? Kind of the same thing we just did. So notice, so I'm going to highlight it. So it's active right now. I don't want to see the cursor blinking. So right now I can see there's a cursor in there blinking. That means it wants me to change the writing. And that's not what I want to do. I want to impact the whole box. So what I'm going to do, let me just make this a little smaller so it's not coming up there. Okay. So I want to click on this, but I actually want to click on the edge where I see those my 4-way arrow. I want to click there. You see the cursor is not blinking anymore. That tells me I'm editing the whole box, not just the writing. So just to show you one more time, I can make this bigger so it's a little easier to see, right? If I click in here, there's a cursor. And the cursor tells me that if I make an edit right now, it's going to edit the writing. I don't want to do that. I want to impact the whole box. So I still highlight the box, but I go to the edge where I see the four-way arrow and I click that way. And then I just know that it's not editing the writing anymore. It's editing the whole box. And now I come up to the insert the link symbol again. And I'm going to go to slides in my presentation and I'm going to say contents. And now if I wanted to, I can make this a little smaller again so it fits on the page. I can Control C and I can come to the apples page and Control V to paste it there. I don't have to do the link all over again. It's all in there. And now the way I test it is I go into slideshow. So let's go back to our first slide. So here we are, and I want to go to apples. Yay! And I want to go to the contents page. Yay! All right. So to try it out, you have to be in slideshow mode. When you're in this view, I call this the back end view or the edit view. The edit view, you have all this stuff. You can see all your slides going down the back. You see all the toolbars and everything. That tells you that you're in the edit side of things. When it's in slideshow mode, it's just the image that's on the actual slides. So you need to be in the edit mode to create it, but to test it, you have to be in the slideshow mode. And I can give you a link. Would you like a link to this book? So let's go to the share. And oops, I have to give it a name first. So we're going to call it vegetables or vegetables and fruit, I guess. So it guessed I wanted the name that I put on the first page, but I don't want that. And that what I just did now, if you did it up here before, it wouldn't ask you to do it that way. So you either do it that way or you do it up at the top there. And now I can copy the link and I can hit done and I'm going to give it to you in the chat. Now, when you get it in the chat, it's going to open up like this. But you might like to see it. I'm just going to add another page. Oh, let's get rid of that. I want a regular page, so we're going to do that. If I want to reorganize my slides after I've created them, I come over to those little pictures of the slides on the edge and I click on one, hold down, left click, and drag it where I want it to go. So I can rearrange my slides as well. So in here, I want to paste that link I just gave you, and I want to force you to see it in present mode, because that's actually a lot more effective. So I'm going to give that link to you as well. So try it out. You can try both links and see the difference between the two. If I was to make a book that I wanted to share with other people, I would give it to them in present mode because it's much more effective in present mode. If you give it to them in regular share mode, they need to know that they should click on slideshow in order to see it in full action. So those are two. So we are using slides today as a way to share ideas. We just made a book that would print out beautifully on 8.5 by 11 paper. Some other ways that we can use slides, if you wanted to do it collaboratively, and I'm going to share a link with you here, where you can, each of you is going to take a slide and you're going to add your content to it. So you're not making a new set of slides, you're going to have access to my slides, but in the edit mode, so you each get a slide, you get to choose a slide, just take one that doesn't have anyone else on it. And you're going to write 2 truths and a lie. So the example here, I have my slide in here. So I have some writing listing my 2 truths and a lie, and I put in an image that kind of relates to my 2 truths and a lie. So I want you to do the same thing. I'm going to click share. I'm going to grab the link. Notice it's in edit mode. And I'm going to copy that link. I'm going to click done. And I'm going to give you access to those slides. So you're going to come in, you're going to take one of these slides. Just keep scrolling down if you see other people's cursor on a slide. There we have someone jumping in there. Nice. Our anonymous, who was our anonymous? Anyway, you'll find yourselves.
I had a quick question. I'm
Yes.
sorry. When I press one of them, it says here, well, now it doesn't say it. It was saying, oh, it does. Choose Chrome, the browser by Google. Try a fast, secure browser with updates built in. Don't switch or yes. Should I say yes to that?
What browser do you usually use?
Chrome, usually. I think I go in.
Then yeah, go ahead and click that. I don't know why it's asking you. Usually that's a question that comes up if you're in a different browser.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And people can do this even if you're not in a Chrome browser. And you can do this even if you don't have a Google account. I created the content. I made the slide deck. You're going in there and editing it, but you don't actually have to be logged into Google to do that. But being logged into Google, the minute you click that link, now this is going to sit in your shared with me stuff in your drive. So the benefit of having everyone log into their Google account before they do this work with you is that all the work they do will stay in their shared with me at the very least. We could talk a lot about what they could be doing with it. All right, so I see lots of you in here. Just go for it. So if I was to do a new one, I'm going to take slide 13, right? I'd write my name up here. So the blue line tells me I'm editing this. I'm going to click in here. I might have to double click until I see the cursor. And then I'm going to move the cursor over here and I'm going to write my name. And then I don't want this big giant text box. I want a smaller text box. So I clicked in the text box. I outlined in blue. So now I can drag this over. So my text will be here. If you want, you don't have to do the truth and a lie. You can just type spaghetti, whatever it is you like to type, but just try out some typing there. You can change the font for your particular writing if you want to. And then try inserting an image, right? When we did that before, we are here and we're going to go to insert image, and you could generate one using AI. You could upload from your computer if you know you have an image that you like there. The stock images are great, right? So that picture of Joan Jett, I probably got from maybe not a stock image. Maybe I did have that uploaded or downloaded. But just know that you can do that, right? It's that easy. And Python, come on in if you want to type in there, slide 13. So again, to do the insert image, I would go insert image. In this case, I'm going to do upload from my computer. It's going to ask me where do I want to find the picture. I have a folder called images that is full of images. So maybe I want to put my Bitmoji there. Right, so there's my Bitmoji. You might have seen people using their Bitmojis in their slides. So that's how you do it. And to get rid of anything, so first of all, I could Control Z to undo what I just did, or I can click on it, it's highlighted, and I can backspace, and that deletes it. All right, so go to it. It's 5:09. If it's hard for you to do this while you're looking at the Zoom, we're going to take 6 minutes. So you have 6 minutes. If you need to leave the Zoom, you can do that and come back in 6 minutes. So right at 5:15, we're going to come back and look at what you guys did. So if you want to stay here and you're able to go between screens, that's fine. If you need to leave the meeting and come back in 6 minutes, you can do that. But go in and play with it because that's where you'll learn what your questions are. I'll be sitting right here. I'm going to turn my sound off, but if you have a question, you can just ask it. I'll be checking the chat as well. But go in there and make your slides. So again, this is a maybe a common icebreaker, this two truths and a lie. This is something you could certainly do with learners, but it doesn't have to be two truths and a lie, right? It could be tips about New York or what I did this summer or whatever you want to do. Marika, I use you as an example often when I'm talking about this. Marika has actually worked with learners and had them creating slides on their phones. So in general, I would never make my slides on a phone, but if you ask me to insert one image from my phone, perhaps, and write a little bit, I'd be happy to do that. So you could do introductory slides that way. So even with just phones, you could still have people collaborating together in the same slide deck. One of the challenges, and I don't know if any of you experienced this, I see there are a couple of slides with two people on them. One of the downsides of Google collaboration is that we are all in there together and it's just a big mess. Other like Padlet is another way you can sometimes do something similar and everyone gets their own space and you can't edit each other's stuff. So you have to decide, when you're deciding which tool to use, you want to think a little bit about what the end result is. Do you want it to be something that everyone can see? Do you feel like it's okay if people accidentally mess each other's stuff up a little bit? Do you have a question? Oh, ooh, look at that. So someone inserted a little GIF or video, which you can also do, right? So under insert with images, you can insert a GIF or a GIF, and then under video, you can get a YouTube video and insert that directly in there. Or if you have a video in your Google Drive, you can put that into your slides. Anyway, so the downsides can be that people can mess with each other's stuff. The amazing part is we're all in here together and we can immediately see each other's stuff. So it's kind of amazing. Let's just click through each one of them. I'm going to go into slideshow mode and we'll do it that way. So someone went to Iceland, although I heard the other day we could see the Northern Lights from New York as well, right? So that's beautiful, Sean. Thank you for sharing that. Is that from your own, did you take that yourself or was that something you found online?
It's mine.
Fantastic, Sean. Thank you for sharing that. That's
But
amazing.
it's double. I didn't mean to put it in twice.
So you can take it out. You would just click on one of them and then select it and then click the backspace button on your keyboard and it will get rid of whichever one is selected. I kind of like the effect though of having both of them there. And it's kind of interesting because they are synced, which is also kind of cool. Anyway, it's a true video experience there. Beautiful. So Joan is telling us about a half asleep sunbathing on a beach below a cliff. Very nice. Someone found a really strong image, right? Probably from the clip art area. And these are actually the two truths and a lie. So we'd have to guess which one's which. We're not going to take the time to do that now just because we don't have so much time. But when I have done this, it really is a great way to learn about each other. And it's very funny to guess which are the truths and which are the lies. Another interesting video clip, and this one's round. I don't know if Sarah, did you make that round yourself or you found it round?
No, I found it.
Nice.
Yeah.
So there are ways I've not done it so much inside Google Slides. I've usually gone out to Canva, but making images that are a certain shape is a really fun, I think it's very special. And if you don't find the image in a certain shape, you can do it yourself. And I know there's a way to do it in Google Slides, but I tend to go out and do it in Canva and then import it as an image. All right, more truths and a lie. And you certainly could do without images. I just think people like to do images. Nice celebration. Oh, very nice. And this one, we have some animation. So the word under insert, if you have selected an image or writing, something has to be selected. Then when you look in the insert tab, there's animation. And animation in this case means that things appear or disappear or zoom in or zoom out. And that can be very powerful when you're trying to make your idea known. It only works when you're in slideshow mode, though. So it's invisible if we were in the other version. So very nice, fancy use of animation there. Oh, and we got some moving little animals. Very fun. And Nice job. You guys did an amazing job. Wonderful. Oh, more animations. You can also set up your slides to kind of zoom in and zoom out altogether. I, again, don't do too much of that. I do animations. Usually, if I want to go through quite a lot of writing, I want, different sentences to show up at different times. So to do the animation piece, let's go into one that hasn't been used. So if I was to insert an image. Oh, I see you guys got them there. Fantastic. Let's go and look for a car. Why not? Oh, we got all these. See, this is very new that all these GIFs and GIFs are in there. Let's go to all the stock images. Supposedly, the images that show up here are copyright free. I do have a long list of resources for other copyright free images, so you can make your own choices there. Okay, so here's my car, and I want to make an animation. So if I haven't selected the car, right now nothing is selected, and I go to Insert, and I scroll down, we see that animation is grayed out. But when I click on the item, so something is selected, then when I go to Insert, animation is available. I click on animation, and it gives me a bunch of options, right? For some reason, it's doing 2 of them. I don't know why. So these are all the things you can do. And you may have seen some amazing slideshows where it really feels like things are doing, coming in and leaving and whatever. That's all done by multiple steps of this. So you could have it fly in from the left, and then we could add another animation where it's the same thing, but this time it's going to fly out from the right. Okay, and you can play it from here. And I have to click. Right? I mean, that wasn't super cool, but you could do a much cooler one. So you can select the same image and have it do multiple things. You can have, a sentence show and then the image show. You saw several people had them doing different things. So there's a lot of complex ways if you really get into using animations. The downside of animation is that when you're in this view, you only see the final result. You don't see the different parts. The way you know that you have a slide with animations on it, though, is you'll have those little circles beside it. All right, so we're about to run out of time. What I want to show you very quickly is that Sites is almost exactly the same. So we said that we went to slides.google.com for slides. We can go to sites.google.com to see our sites. Like with slides, we can make a new one, or we can go with a template that's already existing. And in this case, I might go with the template because it's more complex than making slides. If you click on the template library, you get to see all of these. They suggest them for specific purposes, so they have one for a class, but you don't have to do that. You can open any of them and look at them and see what you think. The main thing that is going to be dictated by your template is how the top looks. Like this one, the tabs are broken out. These two, the tabs are going to always be under the hamburger. We call that the 3 lines of the hamburger. What else is true? The boxes around the writing is something that will be dictated. So if we go into one of these, let's go into parents again. So I would click on it. And then if I like that template, I just start editing. So I want to give my website a name. But notice where I am, blue lines, just like in slides. So if I come down here and I want to edit this content, I have to click on it, and then I see the blue lines around it. So just like in slides, now I know where I am, what I'm actually editing. And when I click on something, then I get this ribbon of things I can do. When I'm not clicked on anything, I can't do that. I don't see that ribbon. So when you're making a website, again, we don't have time today, but go in and play with it. The themes are here. The pages are here. So you can either delete a page, right? Or you could add another page. You could duplicate a page. The template has some built-in stuff. If you want to get rid of just this, you select this, and then you could click on the trash can. If you want to get rid of the whole section, then you want to be in the whole section. Notice, again, the blue line around the whole thing. And now when I click the trash can, the whole section would go. Sites is a little bit more complex because you're going to end up making a, it's going to go on a website. You would publish it. You could buy your own domain or not. We'll do more with sites, but try it out. Having done a little bit with slides, I think sites is pretty simple, pretty easy, very similar. And in our slides, there's a lot of step-by-step stuff. So there's a little bit about Google Photos in here, and then it gets into sites. And I go too far into thinking about your design, but if you scroll down a little bit, you'll get to how you actually make your slides. All right, let me give you the link to our evaluation. So this is our evaluation. You can scan it with if you want to do it on your phone, or you can click the link in the chat. That is weird. I see coming. Yeah, does someone have a question?
Yes, I'm sorry. I am not writing. So I was wondering, I don't know, I know I've missed probably a session of these lessons, but have you gone over, since you spoke of animation today, have you by any chance mentioned in the past or how to use animation? Because I was usually using the option in the ribbon instead of down there. For example, when I do Google Slides for my class, and I want to, for example, put a new vocabulary word. And I don't want them to see the definition just yet. I was having trouble. When I would do the appear, instead of asking, for example, I would, and I click on I guess on the click moment, whatever. It shows the definition, the word and the definition at the same time. But how I was having trouble figuring out how do I have the word first and then ask for feedback and then
very good. Right, very good question, because that's a really good use of animation.
I've seen teachers, but I felt awkward asking.
So one way you can do that, if you are using the same text box for both the word and the definition, you want to make sure that you return, hit the enter key, so that there's at least, these are going to be now considered paragraphs. So you want at least, it doesn't have to be 2 spaces, but you need it to not be on the same line as the word. Then if we highlight this and we go up to the insert and we go to our animation, the trick is that on the animations, you want to click on the by paragraph. So now if I play it, on the first click, Apple comes in, and on the second click, the definition comes in.
Perfect, because somehow I was doing appear on click, all of those. And I try paragraph, but I don't know how I
So that's the key.
So they have to be separate.
Same text box, you need them to be separate paragraphs. Just means you would need to return. Otherwise, you can also create 2 text boxes, right? You can have, because this has happened for me, like I have the word and I want the image to come in. Then you would just make this text box smaller.
Sure. And add one more. Got it.
And then make a new text box, and then you can do it that way too. But I think the most elegant way is the way we just did it, if it works for you.
Yes,
the word there.
It's easy. Yes, thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Now, the downside of this is that if you're looking at the slides down the side, or in this view, you will see both of the things. Only in the slideshow mode will it be apple and then one more click to get to fruit that grows on trees. So another way to do it is have this slide say apple, and then the next slide give the definition. And that's another way to do it. It will still, in a slideshow, look seamless, but it would mean that when they're looking at the slide in a non-present mode, they wouldn't see the word, if that makes sense, or the definition.
Yep, thanks so much. Sounds
You're very,
good.
very welcome. I feel like there were other things in the chat. Let's see. Okay, so Camille's asking, Camille mentioned that her computer at work and it's not allowing me to insert images. The option is locked. So when
Yeah,
you go to
and mine's not highlighted. I have the same problem. For some reason, it's not highlighted.
so when you go to insert, this first one is gray. The word image is gray. Is that
Yeah,
what?
it's gray. It's not bold like the dark color.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So that could be a security issue. That's a very unusual one because images are such a common um use here. If you were to go back to our shared one and you wanted to go look at my on slide 14 and you were to right click on that, you can copy it and try pasting it and see if it lets you paste. That's an interesting one. So I'll definitely look it up and see if I can find out why that could be true. What security setting or something could stop you from being able to insert images.
Yeah,
Thank you for letting me know it's a struggle. That is interesting.
So someone else was having it too, but they say it's locked. I don't know how theirs is locked, if they mean the same thing, that it's
Yeah.
locked. So you want me to try to copy yours from?
Try it out and see if copying and pasting at least it's not the same as inserting an image from the world, but at least
Yeah.
you could, something that I use a lot, we're over time, so folks
It
need to.
went into a new slide. It copied it, but it didn't let me put
So
it
if you
in.
go to another slide right after it and you try to Control V, it doesn't paste it.
No, it's pasting it right underneath on the new slide. I'm trying to insert it in the.
So if I take this picture and I highlight it and I do Control C, and I go to the next slide and I click in the slide somewhere and I go Control V, you do that, it doesn't work?
No, it does do it, but it makes the new slide. It doesn't put it in my slide. I'm trying to put
So
it in.
that's a great point. So if you're over here on the left side and you right click there, you are copying the whole slide. To copy just the image, you have to come into the big picture in the middle. Does that make sense? So if I come over here to number 14 down the left side and I right click there and I copy and then I paste, it's going to paste the whole slide. What I want to do is.
Oh, it did. I did that. It pasted your picture. I went on to the bigger slide.
Okay, so if you
And
go on
that
the bigger, right. So at least it's letting you do that. You were able
Yeah.
to paste an image. Okay. I will look into why under the insert that would not be there,
Okay.
or why it's grayed out, because that's very weird. And I don't know why that would be a setting that someone else could have impacted for you.
I'm
But
wondering if mine was like, remember when it asked me if I wanted to put Google as my default, and I didn't. I said no.
I
Just a
don't think,
yeah.
I mean, I hear you. So it could be that, but to me, the logic is a little weird because I know you should be able to do it even, like even if you didn't have a Google account and you weren't logged in, you would be able to do this part of it. So I
Okay.
will look
All
into
right.
it.
Thank you so much.
You're so
Okay.
welcome. There was something else though that someone said that made me think of something, but it's gone now. Okay. Well, so know that there are lots of resources in our slides. If you go towards the end, there's a lot of things about making websites, and then there are a lot of resources around all kinds of googly things. On the LAC website, and I'll make sure that I send this to you as well. I go there this way, so it's lacnyc.org, and we do have a YouTube channel, and we've made a lot of playlists. So if you're looking for how to do something, these are curated lists. So I think we have one for all the Google Club videos go here, but I think you'll also find Google Sites and Slides. Yeah, here's a Google Slides one. There's 24 different videos there. So if you're looking for more tips, lots of tips. And that's how we all learn. I mean, mostly I learned from doing stuff like this. Okay, so we're done for today. Thank you all so much for being here. I will be sending out an email either later today or tomorrow with a link to our slides from today and the Google post with the recording of this. And you'll look at the blog, you'll see we've done other more step-by-step how-to videos. So if we went a little fast today for you, I think you'll find some videos there or some older sessions that might give you more information. I'm always happy to help. This is specifically on making ebooks, right? So we have that there. I'm always happy to help. So reach out if you need some one-on-one, how do I get this thing to do the thing I want to? And be resilient. All right, take care, everybody.
Thank you so much. I'm just finished filling out the.
Thank you so much.
version.
Yeah, thank you for those filling out the evaluation. That really makes a big difference for us. Our funder loves it, and we love it, because then we know what you're looking for in future sessions. All right, take care, everybody.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.